Today we celebrate Saint Pio of Pietrelcina. Of course, we know him as Padre Pio. We know him for his suffering, humility, and miracles. He was actually born Francesco Forgione. In 1887, Mommy and Daddy had 7 kids, 2 of whom died in infancy, and they taught the 5 surviving children to live a very Catholic spiritual life. Daily Mass, family prayer, rosary, acts of penance. Francesco, Padre Pio, already decided at a young age to dedicate his entire life to God. At age 10, he felt inspired by the example of a young Capuchin Franciscan and told Mommy and Daddy, "I want to be a friar with a beard." Francesco's father spent time in America working to finance his son's education. Actually, he worked in Jamaica, Queens, where I used to work as well. Hopefully it'll turn out the same way. On January of 1903, Francesco put on the Franciscan habit. He took the name Pio, which is an Italian form of pious, in honor of Pope St. Pius V, made his solemn vows 4 years later, and was ordained in 1910. Shortly after, he received the stigmata, Christ's wounds in his own flesh. Along with these mystical but real wounds, he also suffered health problems that forced him to live apart from his Franciscan community for the first 6 years of his priesthood. In 1916, he entered the community at the Friary of San Giovanni Rotondo, where he lived until his death. He handled many duties as a spiritual director and teacher, covering for brothers drafted into World War I. He himself, in 1918, served in a medical unit of the Italian army. He later offered himself as a spiritual victim for an end to the war, accepting suffering as a form of prayer for peace. Against his own wishes, his reputation for holiness and the attending miracles began to attract huge crowds, as you might imagine. Some church officials, however, denounced the priest and had him banned from public ministry. Pope Pius XI ended the ban 2 years later, and his successor Pius XII encouraged pilgrimages to Padre Pio's friary. Known for patient suffering, prayer, and compassionate spiritual guidance, he also lent his efforts to the establishment of a major hospital, the Home to Relieve Suffering. He died in 1968 and was declared a saint in 2002. 3 years after his death, Pope Paul VI marveled at his simple and holy life in an address to the Capuchin order. A worldwide following gathered around him because he said Mass humbly, heard confessions from dawn to dusk, and was, it is not easy to say it, one who bore the wounds of our Lord. He was a man of prayer and suffering. Padre Pio. Let's all try to be Pios ourselves. Of course, you know the word means pious, right? Certainly. So, piety is the way to holiness, and holiness is the way to heaven. But I think you know that. God bless you one and all. Happy feast day of Saint Padre Pio.